First of all, let me just say thank you, Seattle. Thank you so much to the Citizens Truth Alliance and the 9/11 Visibility Project and everybody else who contributed, who endorsed. I've heard Seattle Thunder mentioned as an endorser. Everybody who had anything to do with this, I want to say thank you very much. I know I and my good friend, my agent publicist, Ken Levine, who made this book happen. He got the publisher, got the deal. Ken, by the way, is the former news director at KCBS Channel 2, the CBS owned and operated TV station in Los Angeles. So we do get defections from time to time. But there's a lot of great people that have put a lot of work into this tonight. And I was listening, I think, to Mike start when Mike was beginning, and he talked about saving the world. And since November the 2nd, we all know what happened on November the 2nd. What has become clear to me, especially, how many people have read the essay on my site called Snap Out of It, that had to do with, okay, that's most of you. I would hope that a lot of you, for those of you who have read Crossing the Rubicon or are reading it, or for those of you who are subscribers to From the Wilderness, what I'm going to show you tonight will mean a lot more to you than to the people who are new to this. That doesn't mean that the people who are new to this aren't going to walk away needing a stiff drink, a joint, or a Valium. You know, or whatever makes you feel better. But we will have a lot to talk about. But for me, the issue is no longer about saving the world. The world doesn't want to be saved. Get it? I'm here to save you. I'm here to save anyone who will partake of the information that I and the incredible writers at From the Wilderness, and how many people have read From the Wilderness or looked at my website? God bless you. Well, you're all familiar then with the Jamie Hecks, the Stan Goffs, the Dale Allen Pfeiffers, the Michael Caines, the wonderful, wonderful men and women who tell it like it is and who bring incredible skill to that. But this is no longer about saving the world. This is no longer about having a lefty, progressive, feel-good party and rally and where we can clap and cheer and throw some money at something and go home and think we've done something. I don't know about you, but I spent 27 years of my life trying to change the world, and I've been an abject failure. How well have you done? Okay? That is not to put down on any of us. It is to acknowledge the simple facts of the world that we're living in, and that it is a fundamentally different world, and there is no going back to Kansas with Toto again. Now, inasmuch as I've written this huge book, Crossing the Rubicon, most people think it's a book just about 9/11. If you've read it, you know it's not. It goes way back before the beginning of 9/11 and lays foundations, and it goes well after 9/11, because what I have tried to construct for you is a map, a landscape, a political, economic, energy landscape of the world in which we live, so that you can help, so that you can use that. If you read it and use it and study it and incorporate new data into that map, to ascertain and divine and map out the terrain upon which you stand. Because the world's about to change in a big way. If we're to look at 9/11, 9/11's like an elephant that's already run over us, and it's moving away. Now more than 3 years old, 3.5 years old. Now, what's more important, an elephant that's running away from you or several angry elephants that are running right at you? Which is more important to focus your attention on? So we're going to talk about 9/11, because in talking about 9/11, we're going to talk about how it was perpetrated. Because if you understand the how and the mechanisms by which government, press, the economy, the banking system, the world political landscape were manipulated to produce a 9/11, you will have a clue as to how all of those factors can be manipulated again to produce events that are yet to come, some of which we don't know what they are yet. But it's important to understand how clear-cut the case is, because then we understand that there's an old saying that insanity is repeating the same action over and over again, expecting different results. Make sense? So, you know, let's get past some of these things like, well, I'll write a letter to my congressman, or I'll I'll write the TV station, or I'll stage a protest, or put a bumper sticker on my car. Well, that's to try to change the world. We're here to try to change ourselves and each other. You know, when you're in how many people have taken a commercial airplane flight? Okay, everybody, right? What's the stewardess say when the oxygen mask comes down? Put your own mask on first, because you can't help somebody else if you can't breathe. So what I'm here to do tonight is to help you breathe better in the face of what's coming. Then you can help somebody else, and it will probably be your neighbor, people close to you, physically close to you. We must, I think, at this point, my decision, my knowledge, my belief after almost 30 years of this is that I'm not trying to save my country anymore. My country doesn't exist anymore. But let's go over a little bit of crossing the Rubicon. Michael Caine, who's a brilliant young writer, he's 28 years old, 29 years old, in New York City. Wonderful guy. He's really into hip-hop, and he kind of came along to From the Wilderness, and he confronted some generals at the last hearing of the 9/11 Truth Commission. Because crossing the Rubicon, 600 pages, he said, maybe I can condense this case that Ruppert makes against Vice President Cheney down to just some bullet points. And he did. He did a very good job of it. And we'll have this up on the website here in a couple of days. By the way, whenever I do a presentation, I was up till 11 o'clock last night making the fresh slides for this with the freshest possible information. So there's very little here that's canned. This is like up to the minute news. Crossing the Rubicon. In any homicide investigation, and not only did I work narcotics as an investigator with LAPD, I also worked homicide for a short period of time on loan, and I went through their training. In order to establish a murder conviction or homicide conviction, you have to establish means, motive, and opportunity. 3 elements of the crime. Any lawyers in the room tonight? You're brave. I actually saw 2 or 3 hands go up. There's another one up there. Lawyers coming out of the closet. Sounds like a Jackson Brown song. Okay. Means. Dick Cheney and the Secret Service. Right up here. Dick Cheney was the acting commander-in-chief on 9/11, calling the shots via the Secret Service. George Bush was reading about pet goats. George Bush was out of the loop. Where did Cheney go? He was rushed right down to the PEOC, the bunker underneath the White House, Presidential Emergency Operations Center, where the Secret Service we have established in crossing the Rubicon, completely redundant command, control, and communication system with actually better technology in some cases, and we're about to break some major stories showing and proving that my speculation that Vice President Cheney was using modified promise software to override the FAA systems, we're about to break a huge story on that. So the Secret Service has the legal authority to take supreme command over all agencies in the U.S. in times of a national emergency on U.S. soil, even the Air Force. Every agency is subordinate to the Secret Service in what are called national special security events. You can look it up on the web. Secret Service has the highest technological communication systems of any agency, as it should. On 9/11, the Secret Service had the technology to see the FAA radar screens. I found quotes saying that the Secret Service was watching every hijacked plane, all 22 of them at one time, what they thought were 22 of them at one time, on the screens, seeing in real time exactly what the air traffic controllers were seeing. Secret Service was in the decision-making loop as early as 8:15. We placed them in New York City at WTC 7. We placed them in the FAA headquarters at that time, no later than 8:45. Everything was in place on 9/11 for the Commander-in-Chief to have full supreme control of the Air Force and all the military via the Secret Service systems and the legal mandate. Bush was doing his thing about goats. And one of the funniest lines that I got to write in this book, it took me a long time to research, but a year and a half of nonstop back-breaking work to write this book, and there were only a few times where I really got to sit back and just laugh. Remember the story on 9/11, how the first plane, Flight 11, hit the World Trade Center, the North Tower, and then the call came in, and the second plane had been hijacked, and the story was that the Secret Service agents came rushing in and grabbed Cheney and carried him down to the bunker. Well, the way I pieced everything together was, you got President Bush reading about a pet goat in a grade school, and his staff there already know about the hijack.